What's up guys, this is Quante and welcome back to more Let's Play Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, and we're gonna beat this bat pretty much once and for all. So this bat, I never really got to explain it, or at least I don't think, but as you probably have already seen, it splits into two. But if you get these guys in a set pattern, you can just get them stuck in one place, and you can just completely destroy all of them. Sort of like that. Don't know why I didn't do that last time. Like, there's no movement involved at all, and that only took like 30 seconds. So, that wasn't really too bad. And I got a life for all of that, so that's pretty good. So now we can go on to the next level, and this is another one of those levels that I don't think you can really get to unless you take this path specifically, because there are certain levels that pretty much require you to do that, you know. That's what makes this game fresh after all. But this level right here is probably one of the most tedious in the game, because this level just is kind of, it drags out simply because of a specific gimmick, if anything, and it's those eyeball drops that make this level just go on for really excessive amounts of time, simply because for those who wait and are patient, you know, good things will happen, but waiting just takes a really long time. So, you know, these eyeball drops will pretty much melt the floor, and the only reason I'm waiting right now is simply because that candle basically kind of has a birthday present in it. It's like candles and freaking birthdays go together, and then you get a present and stuff, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, not to mention, if you do wait and go on downward paths like these, most of the time the downward paths are always the ones that are easier in terms of platforming. So, you know, taking these lower paths down here will actually be quite beneficial, and waiting, you know, you'll be happy if you do wait, even if it does take quite long. And if you're playing on an emulator like I am, you can just use the fast forward button, but I really didn't want to do that simply because, you know, I just want to play the game legitimately, you know, like, just like how people did back in the day. I want to have the same experience they did back when they were playing the game. But here again, you know, we have to wait for these things to drop down, simply just because, you know, they make you, and that's sort of weird. It's simply because of the fact that, you know, we came down here and now we have to wait. But even if you went up there, you probably still would have to wait, mainly because the bottom path is always easier in this specific level than the top. So, you kind of want to take your time, but also be kind of fast, simply because of the fact that if you wait a little bit too long, you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna make sure all these top blocks are just down and then walk to it when the ground's flat. Well, that's not gonna work, because these things are just gonna disintegrate the ground. So you kind of have to be fast and slow at the exact same time. You know, be the tortoise and the hare at the exact same time. That just doesn't make any sense. And this right here, this got me when I was playing at school, because one of the first instincts I had was to go through the door and then continue with the level, and I ended up jumping right into that fire guy simply because he didn't spawn until the level kind of actually loaded. I guess these are kind of like loading screens on the NES, you know, if it even had loading screens. But I don't know, that's just kind of a weird thing. I don't know if those things are actually insta-kill, but I wouldn't recommend getting hit by these at all. Simply just because, you know, that's just the better things to do. Especially since, like, getting hit in Castlevania games is one of the most frustrating things I find, simply because it's like Mega Man, where you have a boss at the end of every level, and your chances on beating that boss are oftentimes better when you actually have more health. So that's sort of a thing, you know, pretty obvious and unexplanatory, pretty trivial, but, you know, I kind of have to find commentary to do somehow, so you can't really blame me at all. But the boss is right up through here, so the level, it really isn't that bad. It's just kind of tedious just waiting for all that stuff to go by. But this looks very familiar. An open coffin, bats, this we're fighting Dracula, you know, just like we did in the first game. Even though I didn't do a Let's Play of the first game, I did a race if you watched that. And that race is sort of what made me want to play this game, even though I'm not really familiar with it at all. But yeah, This boss is actually way easier than the final boss of the original Castlevania, simply because the sprites of the fireballs are so huge, and you can literally just whip him on the head and then whip the fireballs right as they come out of his cape, and it's so easy to do. And so, when I first fought this guy, I thought he was really intimidating, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm fighting Dracula already at that matter, because we've only gone through like 3 levels. And then I was just kind of baffled at the fact that I was fighting Dracula, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just use the same method I did the first time, you know, in the first Castlevania game. And that doesn't work because the sprites are really big and you can't jump over them the same way. And so whipping them is just about as effective, which makes this boss a really big pushover. So, beating this boss really isn't that hard at all. He's dead and just pulled an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Get the frick out of here, Dracula. Why am I so quiet? I don't know. Well, the robe is making stuff happen. That was the most really weird awkward silence that there could ever be. But I am surprised you beat me. I've been waiting for you. I need you to help me destroy Dracula. What will you do? Take him with you or leave him behind? I don't even know why they give you the option to leave him behind. Because, you know, he's glad to hear that. Well, let's get him. I'm Alucard. So yeah, this is Alucard from, you know, Symphony of the Night, even though this game is before Symphony of the Night. But that's probably what most people know the character from, you know, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or Symphony of the Night, because he's simply just the best character in that game. But we're not going to use Alucard just yet, simply because Alucard is terrible for this specific part of the level. I'm guessing this is just a continuation of the last one that we just went through, simply because it's playing the same music and the atmosphere is sort of the same. But Alucard just really isn't fit for this level, simply because he can't kill the mummies that spawn in one hit, which is kind of essential because these mummies get really freaking annoying. So, using the vampire killer with Trevor is one of the most effective things in this entire level, and you're gonna need all the freaking help you can get, because this was a nightmare going through this with Alucard. And I went through it with Alucard the first time I played, because I was just like, a different character, I'm gonna play as him, and that was one of the dumbest mistakes I ever made. But now we can actually get to the other level, you know, and like I said, I'm taking all the bottom paths, so we're gonna be taking this one down here, the pillar level, or not really pillars at all, the aquatic level. This level has water everywhere, so of course it's going to be very lethal for Trevor to go through. So let's play as freaking Alucard. And so when you change your character, all you really have to do is press select, and you can change on the fly. And this was pretty much another feature incorporated in later Castlevania games, like Portrait of Ruin. And what Alucard can do that's pretty much different from what Trevor can do is change into a bat. And he has a really big long-range weapon, you know, the fireballs, which is actually kind of weird, you know. It's like we're playing as, you know, a slightly smaller, skinnier version of Dracula, because, you know, this is before Alucard changed into the pretty boy that he was in Symphony of the Night, you know. But changing into the bat is one of the most helpful things you can do, especially in this level, because you can just cheap out this entire level, because changing into a bat, you don't really do it indefinitely, but it's at the expense of hearts. So if you have a lot of hearts, that's just the more flight time that you're gonna have, or should I say air time. Maybe that would have been, you know, a better word for that. And this level is actually quite lengthy. Like, this is, you know, a really long level. Like, I think this level, if I don't do bad, will pretty much take up the rest of this video alone, which I don't really have a problem with. Like, doing 2 levels of video has proven to be a really good thing, simply because the levels in this game are kind of long, and they're 15 in all, and the fact that you can change the way you want to go is actually quite cool too. And oh no, white dragons. Yeah, this is another reason why playing as Alucard in this level is just one of the best things you could do. Cheaping it out with the bat formation, and to actually change into the bat formation, it's not completely obvious, but you press down and A. I found that out completely by accident. I thought it was like something you had to do with the B button, but no, you just press down and A, and the same button combination to actually change him back into, you know, his half-human, half-vampire self, you know. But yeah, Alucard is a really cool character in this game, and I think, depending on the path that I chose, since it's so specific, I think I'm only going to be playing as Alucard in this specific playthrough, simply just because, you know, like, pretty much all the levels that I think you can meet the other characters in, we've already passed, and that's kind of a shame, but I don't know. Like, each of the characters that you play as in this game are really cool. Like, they each have their own special abilities, and, you know, it's pretty good to play as different characters. But in Castlevania 4, they go back to Simon Belmont, and then you only play as Simon. Only, you know, they put a few changes in Castlevania 4 that are really good too, like the whole whip things and all of that, you know. Like, the Castlevania series pretty much evolves every time you play it, and it's always good. And holy crap, oh, that's what happens when you get hit with the bat. It just changes you back. But I know I'm not gonna do good when it comes to the boss, because I only have 1 health. And that wall chicken back there just plummeted. That was the worst place to put wall chicken ever. Even though it really didn't come out of the wall. I guess that's block chicken. But this is the room with the boss that I'm gonna die in. I already know. Unless I can just do some pretty, like, some pretty good platforming and hitting the boss. Because we've seen plenty of white dragons, so of course we're gonna be fighting, what do you know, a white dragon. And yet again, this is just another one of those things that you can do with Alucard that's really great in terms of his really fast or far away, like, fireballs. Fireballs? So using Alucard's fireballs is really helpful on that boss simply because it's long range, yada yada yada. You get the point, of course. But yeah, you can get the whip things that make him actually shoot more fireballs, which I thought was weird, because I didn't really think, like, I was like, weapon upgrades, how could fireballs possibly get any better? But it just makes you shoot more. It's still just a real shame that they're kind of weak, you know, weak sauce. Whatever. You'd think that Alucard would be the most overpowered character ever, because seeing him in Symphony of the Night, you know, he's just freaking the best vampire, I guess. Even though he's half human, whatever. It's better than Dracula. But yeah, gotta cheap out stuff, of course. There's no point of me actually having this clock at all. What's the point of having it if I can't really use it on the boss? Clocks are basically rendered useless when, like, fighting bosses. I don't even know why they give you that. That's kind of redundant. Or, well, no, redundant wasn't the word to use for that at all. I guess not needed. Whatever. But yeah. So, oh, that was just nice. What if he just circled around me the entire time and I could just hit him that way? Wouldn't that just be convenient? But you don't actually get this boss all the way down. He just turns into a head, and then when he's in his head formation, you don't make him go down full health. Like, this is an automatic cutscene that happens. Like, I think you can kill him? I'm not exactly sure. Or if there's a turnout that happens if you do kill him. I'm still not exactly sure. But there's still more to this level. You know, don't think it's over just yet. I wish it was over. And I guess this is what they give you the clock for, actually, now that I think about it. So this is the timed section of this level, where the water is just rising. And you kind of want to get through it with, you know, good old Alucard here. If I wanted to be cheap, I could actually just fly through all of this with the bat formation, which wouldn't be a bad idea, considering the fact that knockback is sort of an issue here with these mermen. Maybe I should actually do that, you know? I mean, I have 0 lives, and I actually want to beat this level, you know, because this is a long one. So, I'm probably going to use the bat formation at some point, when I actually have a sufficient amount of hearts. But yeah, there's a 5-1. No, God. Freaking bat. Speaking of bats, let's do that. Oh, God, no. No. Yes. Hopefully this is the end. I'm not actually familiar with what's going on from this point on. Because at school, you know, I died down there, and I had 0 lives, and I didn't want to freaking do the level all over again, because it's so long. And freaking bat formation, you know, get the heart so I can stay in the air longer. And oh, freaking merman, they jump high. And he flies really fast with the bat formation, that's pretty cool. And oh, I was about to say, wouldn't it be a shame if we had to fight another boss? We gotta finish this thing off. And I died. Well, looks like I'll have to do this level and stuff all over after all. Isn't that fun?